welcome back to another episode of the Create Smarter podcast. I'm your host today, Connor Clark, and today I'm joined by Marissa and Jake. I just called you McCreek in real life. That's an office thing only. And listen, guys, I mean, it's playoff season in the NFL. You know, things are getting done. Teams are coming in, coming out. And when I was watching the Packers game, something caught my eye. Now, we're all tech people, so it's funny around the office. We always talk about when we're watching something, we watch it a little differently than everyone else would. So instead of watching the game and focusing on Jordan Love's interview, I'm looking back in the background and all the cameras and everyone taking pictures and filming, trying to get sound bites because that's what we do on a daily basis, you know? And one thing that caught my eye was a different kind of camera setup that I really haven't seen before, but I'm starting to see a bit more often on TikTok and behind the scenes, and I saw it on NFL, all this kind of stuff. And what it was a regular, you know, point and shoot camera, whether that's photography or video. And on top, they had a phone mount that actually had your iPhone on the vertical format. So what I kind of put one together was they were filming, right, whatever they're getting in that nice 4K crisp, you know, video. However, they were also filming for social, most likely, on their iPhone. And I thought that was really interesting, and I kind of want to just open, you know, the floor for discussion about that and kind of lead into things that we've seen in our productions, but also, you know, advice for maybe clients or anyone listening to think about, you know, interesting ways to film like that and just different formatting, different, what was that word used? Orientations. And so, yeah, just first, I mean, what do you think? Have you seen kind of like that or anything in sports or otherwise that kind of caught your eye?
I've seen, not necessarily with sports, but with, like, you know, people that are joking on TikTok or on Instagram that's like, oh, when the client wants a video like 5 different ways and it's like a really complicated rig with like a couple different cameras and a phone and, you know, they're all flipped different ways and, you know, everybody wants content in a million different formats now. So that's where I've seen it mostly. But what about you, Jake?
Yeah, no, I'm not known for being the social media person around here.
Oh, right. Shocking.
Very well known around here. Bit of an old man, bit of a non-social media person. But I do still constantly see a mix between the two. And nothing, I will say, irritates me more than a horizontal video that's formatted vertically.
Yes.
It is the biggest eyesore ever. I can't look at it. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
it is disgusting.
And we talk about that a lot because, again, we watch stuff differently than everyone else would. And, you know, the normal viewer wouldn't really notice that maybe the
100%.
quality's dipped, or we could tell, I think they zoomed in on that one because they didn't film in 4K. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today is you know, the premise of thinking ahead when planning a project, whether it's filming an NFL game or, you know, a podcast on site or an event, you know, that has a couple different cameras, is, you know, thinking ahead of the deliverables and what you want to use that content afterwards and saying, okay, what is this actually going to go on? We're going to release the full clip of whatever it is horizontal on YouTube. Yes, that's one. But are we going to take, you know, short form content out of that? I mean, we preach, you know, clip it out. Don't let it die after the event's over. And to be able to do that, you have to kind of think ahead and say, what is it going to look like on any social that I might post it on? That won't be that kind of horizontal YouTube. So, you know, you brought up when you zoom into it, you might lose a little quality, and that might kind of be jarring to the viewer. If you want to, on your phone, TikTok, Instagram, you know, wherever it is, it's going to be vertical. You have to think ahead about, you know, how you're going to shoot. And I just want to bring real quick, Marissa, you had an interesting story about when you were at Syracuse University and just seeing how time has changed since then. Only a short couple of years. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I think we talk about, you know, editing with a purpose and knowing where these things are going to go. And so every social platform is a little bit different. But when I was editing for social at Syracuse for their athletics program, we edited everything square, 1080 by 1080, because that was kind of what was big with Instagram then. And it's like back in my day, I don't remember if we were doing like vertical, you know, real type videos there. So all of our stuff was square. I went back and looked today, like even on Twitter, where it's like now I feel like you would see, you know, a version of a video on Twitter that's horizontal, but that same video might be vertical on Instagram or something like that.
Right, exactly.
But I think even just like over time and like with the social trends, the formatting and orientation has changed depending on what's trending and what looks good and all the, you know, updates that must have happened to Instagram since then. But it's just interesting to see how like the changes have progressed through the years, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to jump off that, I mean, I think it's knowing your audience.
Yeah.
What is your audience? And what platform are they going to watch whatever content you're creating? And again, that goes to planning ahead, knowing, hey, once I create this, I want 2 pieces of content on social media and, you know, 1, you know, wherever else, YouTube. So
or an email, something like that.
Exactly. So it really is like planning ahead, knowing your audience and knowing what you want to do with the content that is being created.
Yeah, and that's a great segue is to a real example that we did for Tufts University's Giving Tuesday, right? Their whole giving campaign. And the videos that we knew were going to come out of that because of previous years and what we've edited were, we said, all right, there's going to be a couple videos, that are horizontal on YouTube, on newsletters, whatever it is. But we knew for a fact that we were creating specific vertical, real-style videos for Instagram so that the clubs and organizations could actually post them on their own accounts. And we said, instead of trying to edit it, after the fact and zoom in and try to make it fit into this vertical format, why don't we actually just shoot in vertical to make our lives easier? And Jake, I think, because you and I were there shooting, why don't you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I can recall ever taking like a 4K camera and then just physically turning it the other way. But it works. It absolutely it creates that high quality that you're looking for, where you don't have to punch in, which is normally what you would have to do in a situation like that. It keeps the quality high, and it looks better, and it honestly makes any production that you're doing look better. So, us planning ahead, knowing that we were going to try and do that, and that would be a part of our final video, I absolutely would say it was a huge success. And going forward with any project kind of similar to that, we absolutely are going to use that again.
I agree. And, another example that comes to mind is kind of the inverse of that, or it was one that we filmed, and not necessarily a mistake at all, and, not criticizing the people who thought of it, but it was filming something in horizontal, then after the fact saying, hey, we want to use that in vertical. Looking back, you're like, well, why didn't we shoot it in vertical? Not to say, maybe turn the whole camera or just think about how it's framed a little bit more. But it opens other avenues. For this particular instance, it was a podcast and to make social clips, because what do you see all over Instagram and TikTok are these podcast social clips that are grabbing, for your attention.
One word at a time.
One word at a time, giant captions, whatever it is. And it works. And we had to kind of figure out a way creatively to say, hey, we have all this horizontal footage, and it's not going to look great just because how it was framed or whatever. How do we turn it into it? And so we discovered AI actually could help us expand it up and down, which is really cool. And so sometimes you might get lucky, but sometimes you might have to, like you brought up earlier today about, a promo that you may have used a template for that doesn't come in vertical. Mm-hmm. You might just have to kind of, all right, I'll bite the bullet and just kind of put some color behind it and put a horizontal video in a vertical format, which, depending on who you are, doesn't look good. Maybe it does. And the last thing I wanted to kind of talk about was going back to the camera with the smartphone on top. I want you guys to kind of discuss, what do you think about authenticity when it comes to video? Do you think quality is really what's more important when you're scrolling and you see a 4K video? Or do you think there's something about knowing something was shot on an iPhone? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, as the social media manager, I'm going to answer this question over the person that's not on social media. Sorry.
Take that.
But I feel like I've noticed that some people, they like the more casual feel of Instagram, where it's not necessarily a platform for the most high quality photos. It's just for sharing photos. So I've actually noticed that if I take my camera, like this summer I went on a trip, I took my actual camera with me, but then I also took a lot of pictures on my phone. I posted the pictures on Instagram from my phone instead of my camera, because I know those were going to do a little bit better, and it feels kind of like the vibe of Instagram. But I think what is unique about Instagram or TikTok, things like that, the video that does well is the video that's self-recorded, or the stuff that's recording on a phone, because it feels more, especially if your face is in front of the camera, like it feels more authentic and like one-to-one, and like anybody could do it. Not everybody has access to the high quality video stuff or photo stuff. So it feels a little bit more relatable. And I've noticed that having that more iPhone content or phone content is going to do better than having some kind of high quality video or photos.
Yeah, I guess it really does just come back to what you said, like relatability and just being like coming off genuine. I think that's a big thing that social media does lack, is there's a lot of people who come off just disingenuous. And so I think probably, just trying to think of someone who would be on social media a lot.
Hypothetical situation.
What would I want to see?
What would I want to see? I'm on enough where I kind of know what's happening.
What would get you on social media? The high quality stuff or the phone stuff?
Right.
I more than likely, that's a great question, by the way. That's a fantastic question.
I'm just doing some research here.
I would definitely say the genuineness of who I was watching. If I can watch someone or something and feel a connection to it, and I guess in that sense, maybe the phone is the way to go. For me to be able to say, hey, I'm watching on my phone, and I know this was captured on a phone. Mm-hmm. It honestly, it doesn't get more, connected than that, I guess. So in that sense, yeah, I think from a social media standpoint, it makes just more sense maybe to just shoot in a horizontal or vertical format due to just connection with the viewer.
Yeah. I think, too, going back to the example from the Packers that started this conversation, after we found that clip of the person with the phone on top of the camera, we went into the Packers Instagram and looked for that video because it was Jordan Love recording a video. And so on their feed is that video of him talking to the phone. So I think there's something to say about, like, you know, we've been talking a lot about what you want the content to do or where it's going to go. But sometimes there's a reason for both.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, that's why she was recording with both, so that she can use it in different ways. But, like, some people want to see the high-quality stuff. You want the kind of cool visual recaps, the best clips, dramatic clips of Jordan Love walking away. But sometimes you just want to see him talking directly to fans, like to the camera. So I think both can work and both should work.
I agree. Anything else you kind of want to add? Anything on the topic? Or
I will say just to that.
predictions for playoffs?
Oh, I'm happy. Eagles, Cowboys are out. I'm a happy boy. But I will say maybe in that sense too, where you are shooting horizontal with the higher quality camera, maybe you can repurpose more content out of that.
Mm-hmm.
You do kind of get stuck with vertical to just that whatever you shot. You know, it's very difficult to punch in and still make it look good. But I mean, in that sense, there's a lot more imagery that can get captured from that, you know, horizontal, higher quality camera.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're an organization like the Packers, maybe, you know, where you know you're going to be taking one piece of content and you're going to make 15 videos of Jordan Love doing that interview.
Right,
like,
exactly.
you know it's going to be out there and you're going to use it for every playoff win. There will be, like, some shot of that. Maybe it does make more sense.
You also got to, like, kind of try both things to see what works.
Right.
Yeah.
Post the high-quality stuff. If it doesn't do well, post the phone-recorded stuff. See which one does better. See which one your audience reacts to more. And that kind of might inform your plan going forward.
Yeah. And again, we're not saying one's better than the other.
No.
It's just it's best of both worlds and figure out what works for you and what, like you're saying, think ahead of where they're going to watch it and what the deliverable is going to be out of that project or event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for all of it.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's all we got. I've been Connor, Marissa, Jake for 5-2 Productions. Thank you very much and see you next time.